Howdy folks. So as you can see behind me, not a lot to look at. So a quick update on the aquaponics system. Well, the tank's upside down and the area is empty, as you can see there. Hang on, we'll flip the camera around here. So that's the system. It's all taken apart. The idea, as I was saying in the last video, was that the idea is to get it all taken apart and redo this space over here. So that's where all it came out of. Yeah, tank there. The idea is to, hey Les, thanks for joining. So today's job is right in here, is going to be laying out the 4x4s you see in the background. Hey Tracy, thanks for joining. So in here, basically this area, you can see it's kind of all dirt patch. I'm going to frame that up with some old scrap 4x4s I got, and then I've got a gravel pile over there that's got to get moved, and that's going to get done by Mark 1 wheelbarrow. Hang on a second here. So the idea is, by the time I'm done, is to have that space behind me here, yeah, back over here, with about a hand depth worth of gravel. Problem I've got right now, there's the rooster saying hello. The problem I got right now is that last year we had a lot, and I mean a lot, of, oh, hang on, yeah, okay, that's not bad lighting, there we are. So yeah, over last summer we had a lot of water settling. The weight of the tanks drove all the equipment into the ground. The fish tank is 275 gallons. That's just about 1,200 liters when full. So, of course, for those of you who do math, that's 1,200 kilos. The problem is it's not constantly 1,200 kilos. It's 1,200 kilos plus or minus 10%, depending on where the system is in the water cycle. So really what it is it's about 1,000 kilo base weight with a 200 kilo hammer being applied to it about every 15 minutes. And literally just drove the tank into the ground over the span of last summer. Same thing happened with the settling tank. Settling tank is 250 liters, I think, 300 liters, something like that. And again, the settling tank wobbled by about 10%, so that's a 30 kilogram hammer pounding on it every 15 minutes, just drove it into the ground. Each of the pipes that were sitting on the frame, each one of those pipes I think was 20 or 30 kilos worth of water. 6 pipes, flood and drain system, so every 15 minutes the load changed by 180 kilos. So that's, conservatively a 360 pound hammer driving down on all those 2x4s. Actually split a piece of cement block that was underneath one of the 2x4s. So to avoid those problems this time around, that's Denny the rooster. I'm sure you can hear him in the background. He doesn't like it when the other rooster in the yard, competes with him. So when he hears me talking, he's got to yell. That's what's going on. I think it's funny. You can't fault a rooster for acting like a rooster, right? So the idea, as I was saying, is to put in a layer of gravel about a hand depth, about a hand's depth across, with the idea that that will act essentially as a shock absorber. So put the gravel down, put the concrete, basically patio blocks, really just cheapy patio blocks, 20 mils thick, just 3/4 of an inch, and then build the system up off of that. The only place that won't be the case, of course, is where the sump tank is going to get dug into the ground. That is a whole other issue. So when I lay my 2x4s out, my 4x4s, that's 80 mil, 75 mil, something like that. No, 4 inches is 100 mils. 100. So they'd be 100 by 100s under metric, 4x4 by for those speak imperial. For my gravel frame up, then that'll have to take into account that I don't want to put a hand's depth worth of gravel on top of the spot I want to dig a hole. Math in my head, less Howie, math in my head about 1.5 tons all up, rocking back and forth. Yeah, about that. So the sump tank is good for 300 liters storage, and then the fish tank itself is another, like I say, 1,200 liters. The settling tank is 300 liters for something like that. And at any one point in time, somewhere in the vicinity of 10% of the mass of the water is in motion. So yeah, and that just constantly snapped screws. When I took the system apart, I found several places where you know, steel deck screws, just they were bent to the point I couldn't actually back them out of the wood. They snapped when I put the torque of the driver to them. They just snapped right off. So that gives you an idea how much kind of working motion is happening in the woodwork. Please understand, I'm not an engineer, nor have ever been asked to play one on Netflix. So what that means is that I'm learning as I'm doing. So I'm finding problems, looking at the problems, trying to determine good solutions to the problems, and then implementing my good solutions, hoping hoping that doesn't find me another problem. But yeah, the biggest problem, honestly, last year came down to I didn't believe in myself enough. Last year, 25 trout. The usual math is that you want 4 plants per fish in the system. So you figure if I'm going to put 25 fish in the system, you're going to want about 100 plants. My water chemistry consistently told me I could have had 200 in the system, 200 plants. And it turns out, a little bit of reading, that trout are just remarkably inefficient. They're very good at packing on weight. They grow very quickly, but they do that. They're very aggressive about dumping body waste into the water stream because they're used to living in brooks, high-speed, highly oxygenated currents. And so, yeah, I literally was throwing fertilizer out last summer. I mean, the plants around the yard benefited. You know, we watered about once a week. We took 100 gallons of water out of the system, a pair of 75 gallons because we were only filling each of the two 50-gallon tanks. On the back of a trailer with water, and then driving around the property and watering the plants with the water that came out of the settling tank, and using, and then topping off with either rainwater or fresh water. So last year my problem was I didn't believe in myself enough. So the idea is this year's expansion is designed to compensate for that. I'm literally going to double the size of the growing area. We're going to same number of fish. I'm just waiting to hear back from the local hatchery. I got to call them on tomorrow, Monday. Sent them a message via Facebook, didn't hear. Hey, George, thanks for joining. Appreciate you hanging out. So yeah, the idea is to call the local fish hatchery, find out if they're going to be able to get me some trout. We did rainbow trout last year. It went really well, as I said in the last video. And that's the hard part. So keep the number of fish the same, 20 to 25, basically 2 dozen. 2 dozen, two baker's dozen, whichever it works out to be. And then make sure I've got the plants to soak up the chemistry. Oops, low battery alarm. Wow, thought this thing was on a charger last night. All right. Well, my phone, my camera phone here is telling me that Livestream is hard on batteries, so I'm going to get going. Thanks very much for hanging out. As always, I will post this to YouTube. If you got any comments, questions, suggestions about the system, anything I'm doing, please feel free to leave them in the comments, either here on Facebook or on the YouTube channel when you see it there. Take care of yourselves. Have fun with whatever you're doing. I hope if you're out in your gardens that they're green and booming. All the best. Bye-bye. Let's see if I can do that. And there's finish. Nope.